welcome to the third episode of Stories of Learning, where we dive into the learning process and explore the amazing journey of learning. My background is music, so we'll have plenty of musicians on here, but not exclusively. We'll explore it all. The most important thing in this podcast is that these ideas of the learning process are applicable to every field. Every episode we'll have a guest in to listen and hear all about themselves, their journey, and their approach to learning. As always, we'll be using the incredible book, The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin, to guide us through these episodes. So I hope that you enjoy. This episode, I'm super happy to have Dr. Randall Kertz join me. Thanks so much for coming on with me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and must be exciting with this new venture, huh?
Yeah, it's been pretty fun so far. I've done a few, and I've got definitely a good handful of them lined up. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Good. You know what might be a fun idea? Do you know Jason Heath?
Jason Heath, no.
Jason Heath does the Contrabass Conversations podcast for the International Society of Bassists.
Cool.
He does so many podcasts with so many players. It might be fun for him to do one with you.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I would love to do crossovers like that. I have some other guys that aren't directly music related that do podcasts, and I'm going to have them on for an episode. And that's what's going to be kind of interesting about this, is that it doesn't have to necessarily be music related.
Yeah.
That's just the people that I know. But like I did one with Richard Cleveland, and that was cool because it's got some music elements to it, but it's
right.
Just on learning in general.
It's a beautiful thing, my friend.
Well, thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah. Again, thanks for asking me and for having me, and looking forward to the conversation. So let's go.
Cool. So let's start with just a little kind of introduction.
Okay.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to, what you do, and all that.
Okay. My name is Randall Kertz. I am a chiropractor and an acupuncturist by trade. I am a bass player. And I know you through Victor Wooten's camps. And I try to bring elements of what I do with music into what I do as a doctor. And I treat a lot of musicians, and I do videos and write books and lecture on injury prevention specifically for musicians. I also am developing products for the music industry, ergonomic products, straps, guitars, and things like that. So it enables me to bring all the things that I love in my life together in one place. And that's how we know each other, and that's what I do. And
very cool. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I recommend it highly, doing what you love.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Cool. Well, I have 3 segments that I jump into with everybody. So let's just get started with the first one, losing to win. All of these segments come from Josh Waitzkin's book, The Art of Learning, which is a really, really interesting book. Just goes through his learning process, through his life as a chess master and through Tai Chi Chuan as well.
Okay.
So 2 completely different kind of disciplines and arts, but it's his kind of development of his learning process through those. So in Josh's book, he describes his 8-year-old self taking on the weight of the primary school chess championship in North Carolina in 1985. His first national competition ends in a loss. An overeager early move catches him in a trap. Forgetting his patience, he falls right in. How do you view failure on the road to learning?
You mean from a healing context or from a playing context, or does it matter?
Both, yeah. Both or either.
I think that in either way, or in any endeavor in life, it's important to fail and fail early in order to learn from that and benefit many times from the kindness of others in helping you recognize and recover and learn from that process. I think that many times people that have success in an endeavor early, which is a fantastic thing, that don't know what it's like to struggle or to fail or to build towards something. When something happens that doesn't work out according to how it always has for them,
Yeah.
it hits them hard, and they may not recover because they may lose their confidence. They may be crushed by it. They may have had a certain attitude that went along with their successes that people are only too quick to remind them of later on.
Yeah.
I think that one needs to go for it and do the best they can, and hopefully everything works out great. But it's not always going to, and hopefully the failure helps to balance the success and make it even keeled, successful, good person, I guess.
Yeah. What's your experience with people that, as an example, are playing their instrument and have kind of their technique being handled in a way where they're not aware of the damage that could be being done? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that by the time anybody seeks me out or gets a hold of me, they either have a problem or they have an interest in not having a problem. So it's not like I'm forcing somebody to learn something or to do something that they don't want to do. Also, many times what I do with a player is I don't ask anybody unless they've had like an accident or some kind of surgery or some kind of an issue that fundamentally changes them. I don't ask anybody to change things so much that it's impossible to do or they don't want to do it. Most things can be changed by showing somebody how they need to correct something and then giving them the idea of awareness
Yeah.
and making and noticing the problem. In other words, if I tell somebody you have pain in your hand because you bend your wrist too much, and I show them by just backing off a few degrees how they, or by resting their hand once in a while, or by stretching it a certain way, how they can avoid that problem. Usually they're not even going to notice that they made the change, except to notice when they don't do it, and they'll say, "Aha! I need to bend my wrist a little," and they'll
Yeah.
go ahead and do it. And again, it's not. It's usually in a situation where the person is very receptive to what I'm trying to show them, and the frustration is either going to be, I went to other doctors or other places and they didn't show me this, or I haven't been able to play for a year because I've had an injury or something of that nature.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, let's jump into the second segment.
Go for it.
This one's called the downward spiral. I'm going to quote part of Josh's book for this section. Josh is living in New York at this point, and he's walking down the street, and I'll start the quote. A pretty young woman stood a few feet away from me, wearing headphones and moving to the music. I noticed her because I could hear the drum beat. Suddenly she stepped right out onto the oncoming traffic. I guess she was confused by the chaotic one-way street because I remember her looking the wrong way down Broadway. Immediately as she stepped forward, looking right, a bicycle bore down on her from the left. The biker lurched away at the last second and gave her a solid but harmless bump. In my memory, time stops right here. This is the critical moment in the woman's life. She could have walked away unscathed back onto the pavement, but instead she turned and cursed the fast-pedaling cyclist. I can see her now, standing with her back to the traffic on 33rd and Broadway, screaming at the now distant biker who had just performed a miracle to avoid smashing into her. A taxicab was the next to speed around the corner. The woman was struck from behind and sent reeling 10 feet into the air. So Josh describes how he sees this scenario as a time where time splits off, basically. And there's kind of the moment where you're at, and you kind of get caught here in your emotion, which is what happens with the woman. She kind of gets caught in anger back here, and then the rest of time continues on. And so she doesn't notice that the taxi cab is the next thing that's coming around the corner, right?
Okay.
So he calls that the downward spiral, kind of getting caught up emotionally in the moment. What's your experience with mindfulness is the concept that Josh is getting at here. Being able to focus in on the moment and not let little kind of emotional hiccups or distractions get in the way of what's happening right now.
Well, that's everything. I mean, every moment is a choice, and every moment is, even as I speak, the moment is past. So this moment is not a moment anymore, even in the transmission of me to you, that in the time that takes, that moment
Yeah.
is gone, right?
Yeah.
So everything that anyone has ever done is a preparation for every moment. And the way you've been brought up and the beliefs you harbor and your conditioning dictates how you will act in a moment. There's a phrase that's called set in your ways, right? And that kind of means you get to a certain place in your life and you're not going to change. All right. And that's true for a lot of people. And actually it can go into patterns that are established in the brain, and we can get into like neuroscience and chemicals and things like that. But let's just say every moment is a choice, and that story illustrates that choice. And maybe if she wasn't cursing, there's a lot of choices going up to that moment.
Yeah.
But you don't stop to curse, and or you're not aware of that moment or what you could have learned from that moment, which goes back to the first one, your failure to react in a certain way rather in a conditioned way. They're wrong, I'm right, or whatever it might be, and then you get hit by the car, right?
Yeah.
Every moment is a choice, and if that can be recognized as such, you can control your circumstances rather than having them control you. That being said, nice words, it's tough. And that goes back to awareness in general and awareness globally, awareness of one's conditioning, one's behavior, of the moment, and packing everything into each moment, but not reacting to a set programmed response. So I don't know if I've answered anything there.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But every moment is a choice, right? Talking to you, not talking to you, whatever, right? Every moment is a choice, and one can truly be master of their circumstances with that knowledge. And if one understands that, they are really going to fail a lot. They're going to fail consistently, day in and day out. And that's part of the process of getting to that place where you make better choices, let's say. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, nice. That's good. Awesome.
Thank you. It is good.
Cool. Well, then I'll jump into my third segment, which is called Using Adversity. So these all kind of line up against each other, I would say. So in Josh's there we go, got through it. Martial art career.
You failed, you bounced back, right? Just right there. It's a learning lesson for us all.
There we go. Learn how to say that name.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
In his martial arts career, he describes when he had one of his arms injured. He was to compete in a competition, and the doctor said that he wouldn't have enough time to heal before the day of the match. Josh was determined to continue training with his uninjured arm. He continues to discover weaknesses that he wasn't aware of because he's been forced to train with the one arm.
Okay.
Right? So it kind of opens up his awareness of things that he didn't even know were weaknesses. So how do you see adversity as a driving force for learning? Whether it be physical adversity or mental adversity?
Yeah, there's all of that. Any adversity is good. Because, I mean, you don't want to lose an arm or something like that, obviously. And you don't wish necessarily for adversity. And it all depends on what one wants to accomplish. Do you want to be responsible for your own destiny and run your life and maybe a company or a service, or be responsible for your world? Or do you want to work for somebody else or do something else that you may not necessarily want to do and not want adversity or challenge or failure?
Yeah.
We're talking about this subject, but who's to say that what we're talking about is in any way better or more noble? It speaks to how I want to live.
Yeah.
Maybe you too. You have an
Yeah.
interest in this stuff. I don't know, right? But who's to say that doing these things, which sound great, is any better, or one person's dream is any better than somebody else's, right?
Yeah.
So that being said, personally, adversity makes me think differently. It makes me raise the bar for myself, not be as comfortable, maybe find a better or different way to do things and to learn from these things. However, I think if the adversity can be gotten over, for example, okay, hopefully this person, they learn from this and then they get used to their arm back and they go and they live for lack of a better term, normal existence again, right?
Yeah.
So if one could take an adversity, turn it into something better, and then not hang on to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just go about your business, take no necessary maybe sense of pride in that, or, look what I did, or, I got to be super careful because that happened that time. You know what I mean? Not let that adversity turn into a future limitation or source of pride or something of that nature. Not be like a thing, right? Not be like a big deal, but learn from it, have it help you, hopefully, and then move forth. I think that adversity is going to hopefully help you gain a new perspective, up your game, and make you better. I find that that's usually what happens with me, and
Cool.
and I think that's a good way to go.
Yeah. With my students that I teach as well, I always find it is always interesting to put a little limitation on it and say, like, you can only use these 3 strings, or you can only use these notes and whatnot, and out of that kind of confinement or a barrier that you put up, then creativity can grow around it, which is really interesting to watch.
Sure. And this from camp, right?
Yeah.
You blindfold yourself. You go out in the woods, right? There are injury type of conditions that I deal with where there's a disconnect physically between the physical and the mental. And that can cause like for example, an overuse injury. You play too much. Usually you rest it, you treat it, you learn how to do it differently and you're good to go. There are some conditions where people repeat the process over and over again, and it becomes habitual, it becomes ingrained in their mind.
Yeah.
And this in turn affects them physically. So even if they do everything else normally in their life, meaning working at the computer, opening the door, eating utensils, whatever it might be, when they go to play a certain passage or a certain way on their instrument, the pattern that used to help them to just play a scale by rote in 2 octaves, let's say, now inhibits them from doing that. And there's no physical, quote unquote, problem, because again, they can go do anything else with no limitation. But when they go to do that, the pattern that is built up in their head becomes a physical one, and there's that disconnect. And this is generally called focal dystonia. Okay, so that's one reference. If anybody is wondering what the heck I'm talking about, you can look that up, and that's not some kind of esoteric kind of thing. It's a very well-documented problem that speaks to this, that can be learned from this. And then you've got neuroplasticity, which is a whole other topic, somewhat related to this. So what was the original question?
Just talking about adversity, right?
Yeah, adversity. So there are these issues, and these are things that can be overcome and can be changed, but sometimes there's more to it, and you need to learn how to do it in a different way. For example, if one has this focal dystonia, it's a tough thing to treat, but ways in which one would deal with it are to distract those patterns, those mental patterns that are now feeding the physical. For example, maybe you practice slowly and deliberately. Maybe you practice with a blindfold on. Maybe you practice at different tempos. Maybe you switch hands. There's many different ways to deal with this. All of them, and different ways resonate with different people. You and I could have the exact same problem, and we're not necessarily going to heal or change it the same way. So by having the variety of ways to disrupt this pattern, you then are able to perhaps change it. I mean, we could even talk about something as simple as maybe, let's take the instrument out of it completely. Maybe you're in a rut, right? Things are kind of the same. You're not doing so hot. You're going to the job every day. You're not really liking it. You're not getting your creative thing. You're just not feeling anything, right? If you take the same drive to work every day without thinking about it and coming back the same way, or you have the same lunch, or you have the same time, different things like that, by making changes in things like that, by taking a different route, by having a different lunchtime or a different break, or just by changing things up a little bit, you can change patterns that are established in the brain that affect the body. And this can get into physiology and mood and all kinds of other things. There's so much to say about all this stuff. It's heavy. So adversity works for me. There's never a lack of it, because if you're ambitious or you're trying to get something accomplished, it can be the thing that makes you overcome that issue. It also can make you think and work in different ways and snap yourself out of a rut simply by understanding this concept. And so I think it can be a positive thing if it doesn't become consuming. Either the issue itself or the solution, right? You gotta kind of take it, use it, and let it go. Go about your business.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Very cool. Yeah. Nice. Well, then that's the last of my 3 sections. So that leads into my kind of lightning round that I have at the end,
Okay.
which is what I call questions to make questions. Basically, this is just kind of, I'm going to ask you the questions, but it's also for whoever's listening to kind of think about it for themselves and what their answers would be.
All right.
So the first one is, what is your life's intention?
This. I mean, I want to have meaningful experiences as I go, in the moment, as we say, even though the moment has already passed.
Yeah.
And I mean that takes a lot of things into consideration. It's pretty simple and cliche almost to say I want to be healthy. I want to have love. All these kind of things. All true, but I really want to experience not even time. I want to experience what is.
Yeah.
And back to the earlier thing we were talking about how what's mindfulness, right? I want to be mindful. I want to make good choices for myself and others, and if I don't, I want to change them, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that leads into my next question, which is, where is your life's attention to try and make that happen?
Where is my attention?
Yeah.
This.
Nice. Nice.
It's really about that. I tried. It's so easy to say be in the moment, but that's almost like gluten-free. I mean, it's
Yeah.
everywhere at the moment,
Yeah.
No knock on gluten-free or anything, but I mean,
Right.
it seems to be very much a something that is stated a lot, that maybe its intention is not as clear or as strong as maybe one would prefer it to be.
Yeah.
I really just want to make the most of what I got.
Yeah.
And that may mean going to Tahiti, and that may mean taking a nap on the couch. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to make the most of what I got while I got it, and
Yeah.
that's now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I have one more, and part of me feels like I might know the answer to this one, but here's my last one. What do you know for sure?
This.
That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah. Truly, that's truly all I know. I know that I'm looking at you right now on this screen, and I'm hearing your voice, and you're hearing mine, and I'm trying to give you good answers, and stay in this, and within the confines or not of what we're talking about, and that's really all I know. In a minute, I know what I know is I'll be having an apple.
There you go. Yeah. And I think that part of the kind of beauty of that is being able to not worry about it, not worry about what's happening next, or what's, just kind of being present enough right here that this is all that you're concerned about.
Yeah. And it's not lost on me that it's nice to be able to answer your questions in this way.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, this and now and mindfulness and awareness sucks,
Hmm.
you know? Um, and all this doesn't help pay the rent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's part of reality and part of this and part of taking what we're talking about and making choices and doing things and maybe having adversity and whatever. It doesn't, that doesn't define you. That doesn't make you. It's
Yeah.
something that happens to you that, and it's not easy, man,
Yeah.
but that you can, that you can truly control. But it's a long way to get there. It's a
Yeah.
long way to get there. And I don't make any pretenses that I'm there, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But this stuff isn't easy, man.
Hmm.
This stuff isn't easy. It's a lot easier to teach somebody not to bend their wrist so far
Yeah.
and to keep and to be aware of that, because when they do that, they will have pain and they won't be able to play like they want to, right?
Hmm.
That's tangible in a way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? All this other stuff is like, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And you got to get there. And
Yeah.
good luck with that.
Yeah, and I think that at least the fun of it for me, because I do see it as fun for me, is trying to figure out how that applies to me. How does it apply to the things that I'm going to do tomorrow, or the things that I'm going to do at work, or the things that happen on my drive to work, and all that. Just trying to figure out how can I be mindful when somebody cuts me off, or
Yeah.
things like that. Just taking those ideas and trying to see how they fit into my day.
That's exactly right. And that's a great analogy.
Hmm.
I'm not going to be anywhere near as calm and serene when that happens. I'm going to say and do stuff I'm not so proud of and that I'm working on, right?
Yeah.
Just like we all are,
Hmm.
but it's okay.
Yeah.
I forgive myself.
Yeah.
I'll forgive them in time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's it. Good luck with the journey, man. It's
Hmm.
all it's what we do. It's all the music we listen to, all the stuff we read about, all the work we do on ourselves to try to have some kind of understanding, right?
Yeah.
And
All right. Well, yeah, that's all I got. So I wanted to say thank you for being on the podcast with me.
yeah, it was my pleasure, and thank you for asking me. And it was fun, and
Yeah.
I hope it continues to be so for both and for all of us.
Nice. Awesome.
All right,
Cool.
Jared.
Thank you.
Right on, brother.
Thank you all for listening. I'm going to put Randall's website and a link to his book and a few other things in the show notes, so be sure to check those out. I also want to let everyone know that I'd love to start having stories come in from listeners. So if you are listening and you have a story that relates to one of these topics, be sure to send an email to storiesoflearning@gmail.com. And hopefully we can start to have a small segment at the end of every episode where we hear a story or two from the listeners. That's all for this episode, so thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you again next week.